for sure make sure that our youth are heard today, and that they can reach out to as many communities that possibly can. So, live stream.
You got it, Rich? Do you need help? I guess I'm introduced.
Yeah, so who's doing the presentation of the
Oh, how do you do that?
just the green button?
Oh.
Go ahead. You could do this.
Oh, okay, okay. So, Onim Bojo, Geto Gabo, Indishnikaz, Patchwana First Nation, Donjaba, Maingan, and Dodem, Anishinaabe, Kwe, and Dow. So, before we all start, I'd like to acknowledge not only the land, but all of the waters that sustain us and all the living beings. So, as some of you may already know, Stories from Our Roots is a photo voice project driven by First Nations youth and supported by the Ontario First Nations Young People's Council in Chiefsville, Ontario. First, we're just going to give you a little update of the gatherings that have happened over the past year. So in changing the narrative from suicide prevention to life promotion, we utilize digital storytelling to share messages of hope, belonging, resilience, meaning, and purpose, drawing upon the strengths and beauty that is deeply rooted in all of our communities. The first youth engagement session was held in Thunder Bay in October, and the next month it was held in Kenora, and also in February was in London. Through our gatherings, we have delivered safe talk training as well as a general introduction to photography so participants can tell their stories through their own lens. There's no words to describe how we all feel after each training session. Having the opportunity to work, support, and uplift these youth is rewarding and fulfilling, and we can't find words to thank them enough for joining us. So to conclude kind of our gatherings there for the photo voice, the youth need us now more than ever, and their voice and presence is medicines to all of us here in the room.
Should we be hitting this?
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah. Oh. All right, so these are just a couple of the slides that went through what I just talked about. So this logo, we actually had a logo contest that was sent out to youth across Ontario, and this was the winning photo here, and the artist was Gerald McComb from the Moose Cree Nation, and it's a beautiful logo, and it really talks about what the name of this project is, Stories from Our Roots, talking about all that we are and all that we stand for is deeply rooted in not only our community, but our land as well. And here are a couple of the photos from the Thunder Bay session. And these photos are actually from some of the youth that were there. This was their end product. From our November gathering. Oh.
Sego. My name is Connor Martin. I am from Six Nations, and I am the female rep for my region on the OFMIPC. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our February gathering. Stories from Our Roots partnered with Taking It Global, which is an organization that helped with us to put the Youth Summit together. At this summit, the youth in attendance received Safe Talk training as well as training in producing video content. They developed skills such as writing, directing, and editing. The youth representatives from each community that were present received technology kits that consisted of a MacBook with editing software, an iPhone 7, a mini 4K camera, a microphone, a drone, and a backpack to hold it all. Each kit was estimated at about $11,000, and each community that had a representative there got one, as well as each PTO. Which ensures each community or every community has access to a kit if they need it. We further encouraged communities to offer training. Taking It Global has offered their help to produce webinar training sessions that youth can tune into. The drone operator who was there has offered his training as well. And some youth at the gathering feel comfortable with everything they've learned, and they've offered to their skills to help. And we can provide a list of those names. So Tristan is sending out agreements for the kits to all the community leaders, and within those communities, it's their responsibility to find out what they want to do with it and how they want to use it. So for example, in Six Nations, our youth council plans to let the youth rent it free of charge, and provide a small fee for letting community organizations use it, and the fee will go back into helping the youth council operate. So as a media, I forgot to introduce myself as my schooling. I'm a media student at Ryerson University, and as a student who has that passion, it was exciting for me to be able to share it with all the youth that came from all over Ontario. And when we screened our productions at the end of the gathering, it was amazing, and you could really see the talent that comes from our communities. And overall, just kind of Indigenous presence in the media industry is so important, because we need to ensure that our stories are told and that the youth see themselves in the media. Not only that, but it is important that we are the ones telling those stories. Video creation and other forms of digital art can serve as an outlet for youth, and as we are storytellers, it's just another way for us to tell our stories, and we thought that was really important, and we thought that this was the best way to get those resources out to the youth.
Thank you, Connor, for that. And I would like to speak now to the work that we're doing with the tobacco resolution. So I'm sure that all of you have got a copy of that so far. And I'm also happy to be able to speak to that resolution right now. And that came out of a workshop that we held at our tobacco gathering. And the youth there discussed smoke-free spaces in their communities. And what we heard from them is that there are concerns that in many of these communities there is a lack of policies in place to ensure that the youth are not being exposed to first, second, or third-hand smoke. And one youth that I heard said, "Why is there a Smoke-Free Ontario Act to protect other kids, but there's nothing to protect me in my community?" So that is why we drafted this resolution, and we hope that, Chiefs, that you'll support this, and that you'll give us the mandate to proceed with developing a framework and a toolkit to, I guess, provide youth with the resources to have those discussions in your communities about what a smoke-free community would look like. I also want to acknowledge Chief Guy Manek, who has agreed to move this resolution, and Louis Quiswa from Pic-Mobert First Nation, who has also agreed to be the seconder. I'm looking forward to the work that we will do on creating this framework and the subsequent toolkit, and I look forward to talking with all of you if you have any further questions on that and the resolution that we're putting forward. Miigwech.
Ani Bojo Rasharashi Dishikaz talking First Nation Dobinjaba, Ajaboy Nishnabekwe. So just previously of what Connor was speaking about the Photo Voice Project and the stories from our roots, we actually have videos from that conference and forum to showcase to you guys. But I'm just gonna continue on the tobacco and cannabis discussion. So what Lance was talking about, on March 23rd and 24th in Toronto, in the city here, we gathered about 100 youth delegates across the province to come and discuss the topic of traditional tobacco and commercial tobacco, and also a discussion about cannabis since it's getting legalized. So there's just a couple of things I want to touch on about that, and just to elaborate on the resolutions that's coming forward in regards, my apologies, in regards to the forum. So on day one, we provided a couple of workshops around the teachings around the use of traditional tobacco. And the response for that was pretty amazing, considering that a lot of our youth are starting to reclaim their identity through learning their teachings. And I think it's incredibly important that this continues on, because just as many as our people across the nations, they're disconnected to spirit and disconnected to their culture. And I think this could be useful in the future for different toolkits to go to different communities in regards to youth. And then just to continue what Lance was saying about the resolution, we talked about safe spaces for smoking. And one of the biggest concerns that the youth brought forward in regards to that is of how regulations and policies around this aren't taken very seriously in the communities. So for instance, like within parks and ball diamonds and where most of our communities go, there's different concerns around that, especially with people that don't smoke commercial tobacco on the daily basis. But that will be elaborated more when the resolution comes forward. And then the second day, we discussed the topic around cannabis. And one of the biggest issues that came up with the youth is the lack of education for both youth and our surrounding communities, whether it's the leadership or the elders or the community in general. Education on that, I will say that was the biggest concern, just because there's this stigma around cannabis that, you know, it's bad and you shouldn't be doing it, and you're judged if you smoke marijuana on a daily basis. But what a lot of people don't understand is because of the lack of education, like the actual medicinal use of it and how it benefits a lot of our community members. So just as a solution-based approach for this, they were thinking of developing or going back to their communities and discussing this with their leadership. And we also let them know that the OFN YPC and the Chiefs of Ontario will support them in delivering a presentation and or developing a BCR for their councils to support an education workshop for every nation, just so that stigma gets erased. Because even for me personally, I feel this topic is a really touchy topic, especially for our leadership. And it's just realistically what it is. It's just the education and the inability to be transparent with the education and the knowledge around it. And I think moving forward, because this is such a touchy topic in regards to legislation in the communities, I think moving forward this would be a positive impact. And we often talk about how youth and leadership and elders need to be talking to one another when it comes to different issues like this. And the youth really, really strongly emphasize on this. They don't feel like they're heard. They feel like their voices aren't being heard around different concerns, or they're not being consulted or talked about issues such as this in their community. So I think one of the greatest things that came from this that we could pass on to the leadership is start including your youth councils. And if you don't have youth councils, reach out to your youth, because there's so many incredible youth that have so many ideas and solutions to the issues that the community are facing, especially around this topic. But yeah, so we're gonna move on to the next topic. But oh, and while we were there, we had somebody come in and do these boards for us while we were actually having these discussions. And we can actually leave these up here for a little bit so you guys can come look at it, or we can leave them in the hallways. So this pretty much, these are just posters of what's in front of me right now, of all the ideas and solutions and suggestions that the youth came up with. And then the last one is just in regards to the toolkit that Lance was talking about in the resolution that will be discussed either tomorrow. All right, miigwech.
Good afternoon. Mark Hill, Six Nations of the Grand River Territory from the Mohawk Nation Bear Clan. I've been a part of the OFNYPC this is my 5th year and final year, as I am slowly aging out of being a youth. Some people might know what that's like. But I think in regards to, there's no shots fired. I think in regards to the whole discussion and the updates that the Youth Council has provided, we have been very busy at work, as you can tell. The cannabis and tobacco workshop that we recently had here in Toronto, we had the opportunity to bring over 75 youth from Ontario to at least start the discussion on cannabis within the communities. I know specifically within our community of Six Nations, we have accepted our position as that we will be regulating cannabis within the community and actually passed our own cannabis law. I know other communities are looking towards that. And again, we wanted to look at how the youth is actually feeling around the discussion around cannabis itself. We know that in a sense too, with the tobacco workshop that we hosted and the toolkit that we want to develop out of this event, that it looks to other youth to at least assist in the discussion in their own communities to start to have. I know as leadership within our community, we did have faced with challenges and obstacles. But I think, that we have to look at the big picture and how the health and safety of our young people is at the first and forefront of things. And I think, in speaking to that, we have to be able as young people to look at our leadership to be able to help us in those areas. So that was a really important piece for us. We also took the time this past 2 weekends ago to have our retreat. So the Ontario First Nations young people came to Six Nations, and we had the opportunity to discuss our terms of reference and where we're going with that, also in terms of protocols and the business and how we want to see things get done. Another piece too, and I know we're kind of jumping all over the place in terms of the presentation, which I apologize for, but we're going to leave these out for you guys to read and to see at your own leisure. But moving on to the next point that I want to make in regards to the restructuring piece, I think, as one of the senior members of the OFNYPC, I see a lot that happens at these assemblies, and there's often a lot of good discussion, but there is rarely outcome of these assemblies. And I think that's an important piece that we have to look at, because as we gather here, it costs each of us in our communities to come here, to list our concerns, to discuss and have these really heavy discussions, but it's really hard to see what the follow-up to these discussions are. And I think in terms of the restructuring piece itself, as the OFNYPC, we've been working diligently to revise the future of our council and to expand our mandate to better serve and prepare our youth populations to reclaim their rightful places as leaders in their respective communities. And I think by creating that, it's also looking at the youth engagement piece and building that leadership capacity to only prepare our young people to lead our communities to the places that we have to go. As you know, youth make up 50% of our community's populations, which is our largest demographic, yet our voices and our ideas continue to be disregarded. And I think that's an important piece that we have to look at, because although, as we say, meaningful youth engagement, and as we have a seat at this committee level, having a seat there isn't as good as being disregarded. We need to look at how we're actually being involved in that piece. Like, as you see now, it's unfortunate that there's not as many chiefs here to hear this discussion. But, you know, I think that's an important piece as young people, that we need to look up to our leadership to be able to say that we're being heard through this whole process. I think also, too, one of the goals and initiatives that we've been working on, and we're still working on, is to look at the North and South exchange. As we know, there for some time that I've been here over the last 5 years, I've noticed a division within Ontario. And it always seems to be North versus South. And I think it's time that it comes to a point where we have to have those hard discussions as to why it's versus. Why it's versus, because we all have the same needs, we all have the same concerns, but yet we're still looking at how we're going to be fighting, or looking at fighting over dollars or fighting each other. I think we need to look at being a united force in Ontario, and to even go for even further to that. And when we get to the national level of things, at the AFN, it's almost like become their own bureaucratic processes. We're instilling processes at the Ontario level that are becoming bureaucratic, in which we argue in the government multiple times. So my question is always why are we creating these processes that we continuously are jumping through hoops, making these barriers, for we know what the work that needs to get done? I think we need to get creative in how we do business. I think young people need to be fully engaged in how we're going to be doing business. And I think that as young people, you know, we do have a voice. And that voice has to be listened to, heard, and respected. And as much as the young people here, and I know it's difficult, as some know, it's difficult to come and speak in front of people. We have newer members who are now getting more comfortable in speaking, and to be able to address these hard concerns and discussions. But I think these are discussions that need to happen. With the North and South Youth Exchange program that we're looking to see, you know, we want to be able to have support on that level as well. We want to be able to take youth from the South to visit and to actually see what it's like to live in the North, and vice versa, you know, because there's many similarities, but there's also many challenges. And it's best to understand when you're going right to the grassroots levels. And I think, and most importantly, within Ontario, that we have to look at that piece. And I think even in two of the restructuring piece itself, the young people really have creative ideas. It's time to get creative in how we're going to move forward. It's time to look at the concerns with a serious lens, and how we're actually going to remove these systematic barriers and challenges that we put upon ourselves, and look at the real picture and the bottom line of the people who are being affected in our communities. I think that's why we come here, we travel, we do this work. We're doing it for the our people back in our communities, especially the work that has been done within our young people here. We represent Ontario youth. One of the other pieces that we also need to look at, and I know our council is addressing, is the way that we communicate and engage Ontario youth. We're doing a lot of really great, important work, but that really great, important work means nothing if the youth aren't being a part of it, or also aren't being acknowledged for it. I think, you know, that, you know, as part of the OFNYPC, the youth engagement piece for ourselves in terms of communication and how we're going to be actually communicating back to our youth within our communities, they need to be heard as well. They need to be respected as well. So I'm looking at it as a sense of the Chiefs of Ontario need to also look at that. They need to look on how we're communicating back to our communities. They need to look at, there's certain, and I know we've had this discussion within our own council back at Six Nations, that when legislation comes down, it's almost like, what are we doing about it? You know, we know that it's an advocacy body, we know it's a coordination body, and to assist us where we have needs within our communities. But we need to make sure that we're doing it all for the right reasons, which is going back to the community level and helping our people. So I think, you know, in terms of the engagement piece and the protocol piece of things, we need to look at that in a serious lens, and we need to take the young people's voice on a very serious matter, because we need to get creative. It's time to get creative here. The Chiefs of Ontario has been operating, the OFNYPC has been a part of it for the last 15 years. And the young people have really come out and done some amazing work through that. And I think, you know, as we continue this work, it's only more so to look at how we're going to be doing this in the most effective way. And I think, you know, by removing it, if we're going to look at creating these bureaucratic processes that we ultimately are challenged with and we ultimately fight with at a government level, but bringing that upon ourselves, then we really need to look at that restructuring piece itself, and we really need to include the youth voice during that process. Thank you so much. Nyawagoa. So just to wrap things up prior to if there are any questions, we do have a couple of videos that we want to share with you from our gatherings, from our stories, from our roots.
Oh my
Shit.
god. There he is.
The old snake. I don't know what to do. My legs are shaking. I wonder if she can see. My
This
legs are
guy
shaking.
thinks we're all shacked up after a weekend.
She's looking at me.
Is that his new woman? Holy, ever move on fast? Oh my god, this is so weird.
Is that his ex? I wonder if I should ask where they're from. I don't know what to do. God, it's so weird.
A couple conferences ago, that girl was my old snake. It's awkward.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
You must be John.
Belieber Boy, 1984. I'm John, actually, in
Oh,
real
is
life.
it?
John Smith. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
not on Tinder.
Ozawa.
Ozawa.
Yeah.
Wow, that's exotic.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's a nice place.
It's nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Lighting's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Bottle.
Yeah.
Hello guys, hi, how you guys doing? Doing good? Awesome. Let's start off with some drinks.
I'll take a water, sparkling, if you have it.
Certainly do. And a beer for you, right?
I'll have water.
A water. No, I think I know what type of water you mean. All right, well, I will be back with your drinks.
Thank you.
Gotta keep hydrated, right?
Did you not see that?
What?
He was obviously being a little bit racist, like just because I'm indigenous. He assumed I wanted beer.
Oh, no, I'm sure he was just being polite, like offering you a drink. Like, I get it. My great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandma is Métis, so I kind of know how you feel, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Okay, guys, I have your drinks right here. One sparkling water. I do apologize, it's a little flat. And I also have water for you as well.
Thanks.
I'm not.
He's just being polite.
I'm not gonna pay for this.
Well, you get it cheaper, right? Because you don't pay taxes?
That's not how it works.
She won like $500.
So, like, what do you do?
I go to Stanford for law.
You go to Stanford for law?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you must be so smart.
Thank you.
Is that free?
No.
But the government pays for that, right?
No.
Did you go on vacation recently? You look really tanned.
If you haven't noticed already.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. I was just wondering, sir, the cutlery?
You didn't bring us any.
Oh, my apologies. We've been really, we've just been so short-staffed. Just want to let you know that it's going to take a little bit of time. Just want to make sure you guys are cool with that.
Totally.
Right on.
No
Put
problem.
it here.
All right.
Nice. So,
It's all good.
right
It's all
on.
good.
Okay, I'll be right back.
He's nice.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go to the washroom. I'll be back.
Okay.
Damn, girl, what you want? I'm working out.
Shouldn't have went on this date, honestly.
Holy, don't be like that. Settle down.
Can you try to get me out, please?
Don't bother me. I'm working on my bannock butt.
Ooh, classic.
Well, what are you still doing there?
Duh, I'm freaking hungry.
How am I supposed to get there? I have a turkey dinner to get to. I got my kids at home. The babysitter is crying. She called me. My kids are throwing cheese and bologna all over the wall. I don't have time for this.
I don't know what to do. I'll end this.
Fine.
I think I'm gonna step out for a SEMA. You know, like a SEMA?
It's SEMA.
Cool, I'll be back in like 5 minutes.
Alright, sure.
What are you doing?
Trying to stay myself a white man, but it's not going so well.
Why?
I don't know.
Didn't your Nokless ever tell you not to go out with a white man? Do you know what they do?
That's true, that's true.
Steal our land, now they're trying to steal our hearts. Don't let him do that.
Oh, yeah.
Tonight on World Championship Bingo, 4 of the best go head-to-head in high-stakes bingo.
Welcome to the world's biggest event on Turtle Island, the World Championship of Bingo. Are you ready for this fierce event? I'm Barry Barefoot.
And I'm Big Bear, and we welcome you to this event. We have 4 Gookums across Turtle Island here. We have Beating Betty, Dabbing Dolores, Murdo, OG Nip, and Marty Goody. And keep in mind, folks, this is a non-snagging event, so Gookums, keep your eyes on your cards.
So let's get dabbing. And I would also like to thank Chief and Council, my cookum, my stepfather. He's been there for me, and I thank you, and this is going to be a good event. Let's get dabbing.
Miigwech.
Hey.
In the end, who will walk away with $150,000 and the right to call themselves the Bingo Champ? Stay tuned for Bingo World Championship.
You people have it so easy. What's it like not paying taxes?
Must be nice doing nothing. Getting welfare and everything paid for.
Yous are nothing but a bunch of drunks and junkies.
You guys get enough free handouts.
Good. Lock them up. They're all thieves anyway.
Go back to your own land.
You're disgusting.
You are worthless. You'll never amount to anything, and all of you Indians are all the same.
Did you even graduate high school?
What do you live in? Get over it.
I wish my education was free. You're so ungrateful. I am not a bad person.
I am not a drunk. I am not a freeloader.
I am not a drunk.
I am not a failure.
I am not a bad person.
I am not a failure.
I am Daryl Hill. I am a youth leader.
My name is Connor Martin. I'm a media student and I'm a youth leader.
I am a community leader and a future lawyer.
My name is Harmony. I am a student.
My name is Darwin, and I'm a role model for my community.
I am a teacher assistant.
I am an Aboriginal mental health and addictions worker, and I am not a stereotype.
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 My name is Kevin. I came to this summit to create and to learn so that I can tell my own story. What I didn't expect was to create unbreakable friendships. We started as strangers and grew as a team. That my role could be much larger. Everyone has their own story, and this is mine.
So, as you could tell from the videos, we gave the youth the opportunity to come up with an idea and to what kind of messaging that they wanted to create through those videos. As you can tell, some of them were more humorous than others, but each of them had a message. And through that message, the youth were able to, in the partnership with Taking It Global and Stories from Our Roots, that they were able to go and become editors, actors, anything that they wanted to do for that week and to create these videos. So I just want to give another round of applause to all those youth who were involved in those videos. Is there anything else that we have? Is that good? That being said, if there's any questions or if anybody has any questions or concerns or anything that they'd like for the youth to address. Oh, microphone 3.
I just wanted to say that was excellent, and I appreciate our youth, and I appreciate our youth council. I worked with youth for 20 years, and I know we have strong youth. And over those 20 years, and I'll be quick, when I started doing the work, we would talk about culture, identity, land, rights, and we would sit in circle because that's how I would do my work. And they would come, and I would ask as we went around, do you know your spirit name? And it would go around. And maybe out of 12 in the circle of youth, maybe 2 or 3 would know. But when I was leaving, I would say over half of that circle was reclaiming their identity. And it's all because of the work that the youth are doing and the elders and the work that I hope to support going forward. Miigwech.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kichimiigwech, to the Young People's Council and their creative and informative presentation. Just one quick announcement. The First Nations Policing Agreement meeting will reconvene at 5 p.m. now. I need to see if we have quorum. So can I have all chiefs and proxies stand up, please? We're going to do another count. Quorum for the purposes of this assembly is 28. Tom, are you a proxy? For who? Okay, so 28, we have 28? Bang on. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We can deal with, we lock the doors, and we can deal with the Young People's Council Smoke-Free Spaces resolution, which is on your tables. It's resolution 0619. Are the mover and seconder in the room Chief Guy Maneg from Beausoleil and Louis Quisawa? Both are present? Oh, geez. Okay, perfect. So, going to read that therefore be it resolved that we, the Chiefs in Assembly, number 1, support the OFNYPC's work on creating healthier communities by raising awareness of the negative health impacts of commercial tobacco use, creating smoke-free spaces, and educating youth on the traditional uses of tobacco. 2, reaffirm our support for the implementation of Resolution 0639, specifically in relation to creating smoke-free communities. 3, direct the Chiefs of Ontario to work with the First Nations and Inuit Health Branch to secure resources to further discussions initiated at the OFNYPC Youth Gathering on Tobacco and Cannabis. 4, support the OFNYPC to facilitate the creation of a youth-led framework that will assist communities in creating dialogue, building capacity, and seeking resources necessary to implement smoke-free spaces at the community level. Do the mover and seconder wish to speak to the resolution? Microphone 4.
I just want to quickly speak to this resolution. I'm Chief Guy Maneg, mover of the resolution. First of all, I want to thank the youth for taking this opportunity and the leadership. You do have the power to make change in our communities, and this is one of the steps to be able to influence change in our community, especially in the area of tobacco use. Most of us here have been influenced by secondhand smoke directly in our homes, and in the cars and the direct areas that we grew up in. And now the youth want to have a chance to influence, to get rid of these other influences that they see in the communities, whether it's our public buildings, around our band office. So that means I might not be able to smoke outside the band office anymore. So, but that's fine. That's fine. So, so I would like to move this motion. Miigwech.
Microphone 1.
Good afternoon, Proxy Louis Koswa, Pick Mulbert First Nation. I'd just like to thank the youth for bringing this resolution forward. I think it's great. It kicks my butt into gear as well to do more work in my First Nation with regards to the use of tobacco, educating our people. We do have a lot of use of people smoking near health center entrances and exits, our band offices, our schools. So I would like to thank you guys once again for bringing this forward so we can go back to our First Nations and implement some of these resolutions that are here today. Miigwech.
Miigwech. Is there any discussion on the resolution? Question's been called. All those in favor? Any opposition? I see none. Any abstentions? I see none. This motion is carried. Miigwech.
We're going to do another song for the youth. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Thank you for that resolution to the Young People's Council. And I wanted you to know that as the current Ontario Regional Chief, I have reached out to the Youth Council to talk specifically about projects they want to do this coming year or the years ahead. And they know that they have my full support, especially on leadership development and developing their capacity so that they can be meaningful participants in our process. So miigwech for all your work. I'm very grateful.
So I'm going to ask all of our youth representatives to come up again. Please come up to the front. And I'm going to call upon our drum group to come up here as well. So in recognition and honor of all the hard work that our young people are doing on our behalf, we wanted to do this honor song for them. And Lance is going to offer some Sema, some tobacco to the drum group for the song. And we're going to ask all of our youth to gather around the big drum. This song is in your honor. And really give recognition to your diligence, your brilliance, your commitment, your dedication to wanting to reach out to that 7 generation who are behind you and that 7 generations that are in front of you. So this honor song is being offered in your recognition. Yeah, so if you guys can just kind of circle around the big drum there, that'll make it. You can sing if you want to. Congrats for that beautiful honor song. I want to again thank all the youth for their hard work being here with us today. So just before we adjourn for today, once again, we made it through our agenda. Thanks to all of your hard work and participation. Just a reminder that tomorrow morning sunrise ceremony is going to be here in the main hall. I know that the elders have been really anxious waiting for some of our leadership to come out and participate. So any of our chiefs and delegates or proxies that are going to be here tomorrow morning, if they're available, to come and participate in tomorrow morning sunrise ceremony. And our final day is tomorrow. So I wanted to wish everyone a good evening and enjoy yourself and be safe.